While the appearance of the Mushroom Kingdom and other Mario locations may change every week, at the very least we know they are all meant to be set on the same planet, the Mario planet for lack of a better word. And logically speaking, if that is the case, then you would also think that Mario's equivalent of the moon would also always be the same, right? Well, yes and no. But let's start with the first time the moon was ever seen in a Mario adjacent game, which is a title you could try to guess for an hour and you still wouldn't get it. Donkey Kong 3 Dai Gyakushu is a Japan-exclusive PC game from 1984 that can be considered a half-port, half-sequel to Donkey Kong 3, the first game in the series to ditch Mario and replace him with the equally iconic Stanley the Bugman. Despite the name, the gameplay of this title is absolutely nothing like the original Donkey Kong or Donkey Kong Jr., instead being more similar to arcade shooters of the time, like Galaxian or Galaga. For seemingly no reason whatsoever, developer Hudson Soft, who would later go on to build the Mario Party series, changed the background of the levels from the sprite-based arcade one Nintendo made to converted photos that seem to tell a bizarre story about a journey through the galaxy. As such, the game now features levels like The Aliens, where the background is a weird group of creatures, as well as In the UFO, and even a mushroom cloud, which marks the first time mushrooms were ever brought up in the Mario universe, and it referred to the explosion of an atomic bomb. Similarly, this game is also the first time the imagery of a moon is used in the Mario franchise, although this is obviously a photo of the actual real-life moon converted into a video game background, meaning that it is quite dubious whether this should be considered the actual Mario planet's moon. And when I say dubious, I mean it shouldn't. But it's still interesting, don't you think? The first time the moon would appear in an actual Nintendo-developed Mario game happened roughly 10 years later, when the Mario franchise was fully established as its own thing. Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins features Space Zone as one of its worlds, and while the first Mario Land introduced extraterrestrial life in the form of the Tanga, this time Mario would get to explore beyond the planet himself. Depicted here is the moon in a permanent crescent state with a smiling face, which, like many elements introduced in the Super Mario Land games, was then never seen again. I mean, I guess you could make up some wild theory that ties in Twila from Mario Party 6, but that's a level of reaching that even I would consider a bridge too far. It is worth pointing out though that while this long-distance depiction of the moon was one and done, a closer look falls in line perfectly with what the future would hold for our little celestial brother. The first stage in Space Zone is the Moon Course, which takes place on, you guessed it, the moon. And while the moon may appear to be sentient and even capable of emotions, the landscape depicted here appears to just be the familiar surface of the moon as seen in real life. Although of course the limited graphics of the Game Boy make it hard to know for sure. For all we know, the moon is green here. But seeing as Mario wears a spacesuit while in this level does suggest the idea is to give a realistic depiction of platforming in space, complete with low gravity jumps as you may also know from the Mario Galaxy games. And despite what their name suggests, at no point during either adventure in the galaxy does Mario visit the actual moon of his own planet. Moons are seen throughout the game, but the idea here is that Mario is much further away from his home planet than the moon is, and so he only visits moons belonging to other planets and galaxies. That was a little look into the future, but if we continue chronologically, the next time Mario games would feature the moon would once again not be a Nintendo-developed title. In Mario's Time Machine, Bowser steals the American flag from the Apollo mission and puts it in his own museum. And people say Mario games don't have compelling stories. Anyway, Mario visits the moon in an effort to return the flag, encountering Koopas wearing space helmets, which is noteworthy because it means that up until this point in time, in 2 appearances, a space helmet has always been required to walk on the moon. But that would change with its next appearance, which would be in a game that technically isn't a Mario title, or maybe it technically is. Either way, it's the first Yoshi's Island. Raphael the Raven is fought on the moon, and while this game obviously doesn't exactly go for a hyper-realistic art style, I would personally say that within the confines of a Yoshi's Island game, this is a fairly realistic depiction of the moon. Sure, it's way too small, and it appears to have patches on it, but I could accept this as an artistic rendition of the Mario Universe moon. And so, you could now argue that we are free for free. Sure, the original Mario Land 2 moon doesn't present itself in the same way as the rest, but it is the sole exception to the rule, and its surface is portrayed in a realistic way, just like in Yoshi's Island and Mario is Missing. But it's still early days. Going into the next few years, the moon would take a bit of a backseat, not appearing as much in any Mario game really. Some would allude to it, like how Star Hill from Super Mario RPG has a terrain that is clearly moon-inspired, despite just being in the Mushroom Kingdom, and Mario Kart Super Circuit's Cheese Land, which appears to be set on some sort of moon made of cheese, judging by the craters. It is worth pointing out though that both would have their design changed in the future. In Paper Mario, Star Hill is just a mountain, and in Mario Kart 8, Cheese Land is no longer moon-themed. By the time we would next see the moon, the GameCube would be Nintendo's main system, and the moon would at the very least play a very prominent role. In Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, the X-Naut Fortress is located on the moon, and to get there, Mario must first traverse the moon landscape. Once again, the moon is depicted as realistic, as far as Paper Mario allows for that at least, with Goombella even saying she finds it boring because it's only rocks. It is worth pointing out that she also has a title in the original game that says a Goomba was put on the moon in 1969, referencing the real-life moon landing, which means that, canonically, Neil Armstrong was a Goomba in the Mario universe. This line was altered in the Switch remake though, with the year removed. At the end of this chapter, the X-Naut Fortress explodes, although this seemingly did not cause any permanent damage, as it is possible to return to the moon after beating the game. Going into the Wii era, the aforementioned way the moon was completely left out of Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 probably resulted in it being overlooked a bit as well as a potential space-based Mario location, with areas from the Galaxy games getting preferential treatment. As a result, the moon would not appear in a game that has Mario in the title for a whopping 13 years following the Thousand Year Door. In 2017, the Switch launched, and with it came 2 Mario games that featured the moon. The first is not the one you were probably thinking of, it's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which introduced the battle course Lunar Colony, which takes place on the moon, complete with craters and low gravity. A moon-like planet had previously appeared in Mario Kart 7, in that game's version of Rainbow Road, but seeing as Mario Galaxy made clear that not every moon is the moon, it wouldn't be until Lunar Colony that the Mario planet's moon would reappear. This battle map shows a more futuristic take on the moon, with settlements and research stations there that even our real world doesn't have, and are not reflected in any other Mario game to this day. Which includes the one that was released a few months later, Super Mario Odyssey. The Moon Kingdom is the setting of the game's climax, and its dark and darker sides provide plenty of post-game activity as well. So it's fair to say the Moon Kingdom, despite its muted and what Goombella would probably call boring depiction, is a very memorable part of the game. So much so that I don't think I need to waste your time explaining what happens here and what it looks like, right? You know there is a random chapel here, you probably also know it is the source of the moon rocks, and if you didn't know that it is strongly implied that the Broodals are natively from the moon, well then you know now. But more importantly, this moon is once again realistic, arguably the most realistic location in the entirety of Mario Odyssey, which is already one of the most realistic Mario games. And that means that from the moment it made its debut in Super Mario Land 2, all the way until Mario Odyssey, the moon has consistently been portrayed as a desolate, cratered and grey, white or yellow no man's land. And that is honestly wild for the Mario games. There is not a single location on the Mario planet that has been portrayed as consistently as the celestial body not too far away. Sure, Mario Odyssey doesn't have the remnants of an X-Naut Fortress, and Goombella never visits Honeyloon Ridge with Mario, which I'm sure she would have loved, but never has any Mario game shown the moon as anything else than what it is in real life. But there is more to the Mario franchise than just games with Mario in the title. We've already tackled Yoshi's Island before, and while Yoshi's Woolly World also brings Yoshi back to the moon, there is another branch I want to look at instead. The one that introduced it in the first place. Donkey Kong. We know that, although they don't overlap too much, Donkey Kong's adventures are set on the same planet as Mario's. There are more than enough connections to confirm that, from Pauline and Bonanza to King K. Rool and Mario Sluggers. And that crucial information adds another chapter to the story of Mario's moon. While it doesn't conflict with anything per se, we must acknowledge the fact that Donkey Kong Country Returns ends with DK defeating Tiki Tong by slamming the moon down on his tower. What's positive, this moon is once again a realistic one, not a permanently crescent one with a face. Less positive, if DK is capable of sending it down to the planet below, the X-Nauts and Bowser in Odyssey were really playing with fire. But in true cartoon fashion, the volcanic explosion following Tiki Tong's defeat is enough to send the moon back to its original place, which, ridiculous as it sounds, means there is no reason to suggest this isn't canon. Now, my own little headcanon is that this moon is the same one as where Yoshi fights Raphael the Raven, and it's actually not the main moon, but a smaller one, simply because the size doesn't really align with other depictions. But hey, we had a good thing going, so why destroy that? Wild as it sounds, the moon is probably the Mario series' most consistent location ever. Do you have any theories of your own regarding Mario's moon? Share it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing. If you really want to support me, you can now become a channel member to get all kinds of fun perks and help me keep bringing these videos to your doorstep every week. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.